Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we are back with another tutorial on Elasticsearch, and this is the continuation of our series of tutorial on Elasticsearch for beginners. So we did few tutorials on how to set up Elasticsearch on normal Linux, Ubuntu, Docker. We spoke about the concept, ELK Stack, Elastic Stack. So those things we spoke in my previous videos. So this is a continuation for that. So what we want to do is in this tutorial we'll just see more about Elasticsearch Index. We'll also try to see how we can create index, we can delete index, we can import data into the index. So before that, let me talk about what is a Elasticsearch Index. So as usual, index is like a database. So in a normal database, you like MySQL or MS SQL or Postgres, MongoDB. So like a database, this index is also a database for Elasticsearch. So just if you want to compare the Elasticsearch Index with MySQL database, so you have MySQL, we have similar, like we have Elasticsearch, which is the softwares, and we have a database in MySQL. Then database have tables, and tables have columns and rows, right? Same way now in Elasticsearch, indices will act as a database, or where it stores the data, and you have different kind of types. We can have documents with properties in the Elasticsearch indices. Okay, so that's what we are going to see it in this tutorial. So what we will do is we will be seeing some commands and how you can check the indices in Elasticsearch. We'll also see how to create indexes and how to create a simple index, and also how to do a bulk import of some JSON file into the index. Okay, and we'll also talk about how to delete the index, and we'll also see what are the basic requirements for creating an index, and what are the contents you will have it in the index, like mappings, properties, those kind of things. So before I get into the actual creation, I just want to show you like some basics of index, or so as part of getting started with Elasticsearch Index. Let's talk about index rules. So these are some things which you need to be aware about when you create index. So the index name must be only lowercase, and the index name cannot start with a dash or underscore or some symbols like plus sign, and it cannot be dot or double dot, those kind of things for index. And the index name cannot include special characters like this, but you can use underscore, but there are some special characters or space, you cannot use it in the index. And also the length of the index must be less than 255 bytes. And most of the new versions of Elasticsearch, you may see, like if you see the index which have dot, which are considered as hidden index or internal index used for Elasticsearch plugin. Okay, let's see a little bit of tutorial on the practical side now. So before I get into the practical part, I have a request. Like if you are new to my channel or you have not subscribed to my channel, click on the subscribe button. Also like the video, share and comment. So now let's get into the actual part, how to check the index and create index, delete index. This will be pretty interesting for you. Okay, so because you have not done this part yet, we have only created Elasticsearch setup. We only talk about practical on the installation part. Now we are going to see how the data will be stored, how data will look like in Elasticsearch. Now if I see, I'm checking my status of Elasticsearch. Okay, yeah, it's because we have missed T over here. It should be system CTL. Now you can see my Elasticsearch service is running, right? So if you don't have that running, you'll have to start it. So now let's see how we can check the Elasticsearch in the indexes. Okay, if you curl your localhost 90 to 100, you will see like Elasticsearch is running. So that's the default output we get it. So now let's see what the index is which is already there in the Elasticsearch. And Elasticsearch also uses the commands like post, put, get, so those kind of HTTP requests here. So you can use that, or you can use Postman or some tool to do this as well. So let me show you the command. So if you see the curl x get, okay, so we are getting the details, and if you see, we are reading the location underscore cat indices, and we and the pretty is given for displaying the content in a proper way, which is readable for us. And the other one also will be readable, but it will not look pretty. So okay, so if I give pretty, so you can see it gives the headings only, like health, status, index, UID, PRI, rep, docs count, docs deleted, store size, PRI, store size, but it does not show any name of the index, because this is only the the tables or table headings, but you don't have an index yet. So we need to create an index. So whenever you create an index, you will be able to see the health status and the index name and the UID for the index, and how many replicas we have given, and the docs count, all those things we will see it. So let's try to create an index. So the easiest way to create an index is you curl, and the command is xput. Okay, so and the location, again we have to give the Elasticsearch web host name, like localhost and the 9200. Then you have to give the name of the index you want to give. So I'm going to call the index name as test underscore index. Okay, and again I'm going to give pretty here, so that I can see the output in a good way. Okay, so what we are using the xput, okay, which is used to create indexes, or you can override the content of the index. Whereas if you use post, it means like you are writing the documents into the index. Okay, and get means you are getting the data from the index. So let's run this. Yeah, you got a message like acknowledge. That means the index is created, and the shards and acknowledge, and the index name is test underscore index t. Sorry, I think I have given index t, so that's why it's in showing index t. Okay, so now let's run the previous command again. So we'll run the get command for cat indices. So let's run this. Now you can see you have a index named test underscore index t, right, and it have a UID, and the status is yellow, and the health is yellow, status is open, and it have a replica 1, and there are no documents in it. That means it's a blank index. We don't have any documents in that. Now how you can delete the index, you can go to the same kind of command where you have to put xput. You have to use xdelete. So now if you run the xdelete, you can see it's also given acknowledge, and the index test underscore index t should be deleted. So if I go and check the get command for indices, let me run it again. Now you don't see any index over here, whereas we were getting this in this section, but now we don't have it because that index is deleted. Now before I move on to the more section on index, so we can create more index, and we can also import bulk data into the index. There are a few things which you need to understand. So the index have a body which you can understand what is actually the index covers. So index have a part called alias. So the alias, what we use is we give a specific alias name for index which you want to create. For example, in our case, we create test underscore index t, right? So similar way, you can give a name for the index, and there is also a section when you create an index. Previous one was very pretty simple section, so it has pretty simple index, so we have not given any settings, so it has taken the default configurations. So if you can also define the settings, so the configuration options for the index, if you fail to specify it, it will take the default configurations. So in the place of settings, you can define like replicas, shards, those kind of things you can define in the settings part. And there is also a part for mappings. So this mapping defines the fields which are in the index. The specifications you can use in the mapping is more like a field name and the data type or some parameters for the mapping. Okay, so these are the few things which you can do it in the mapping sections. So we will see about that as well in once you in another creating a new another type of index, where I will show you what are in those things. So just to show you the same thing which we spoke about, the index body. So now if you see, I'm here again, I'm using a curl export, and I'm going to use a test index. However, what we are trying to define here, we are going to define the content type, which is a JSON format. And also if you see the settings and mappings which we discussed, so in the settings what we are defining is the number of shards is are 2, and the number of replicas are 2. And in the mapping we are defining the properties, something like the title type is text, right? And this can be more complicated as well. Probably let me show you another example as well. Yeah, if you see this second one example, so you see here as well, I'm using a company database index, but if you see the details are more. If you see the mapping section, we don't have a settings here, but if you do the mapping section, we have a lot more. We have an employees, and the properties for that, we have a first name, and the type first name should be a text, and the last name it should be a text, and designation should be a text, right? And the salary should be a type integer, and the date of joining should be a type date, and the format should be in this year, month, date, right? And the address is again a type text, gender is also a text, age is an integer. So you can define each parameter you want to do it for the index, what you want to import into that. So based on that, the content what you are importing, which will be also mapped. Now let's try to create the index with a number of replicas. So let me run this command. Okay, clear out this screen. Yep, so if you see, I'm running this command to create an index called test index, and the content I'm giving the settings for shards to, a number of replicas to, and some of the mapping properties. Okay, let me run this. So again, we got the acknowledge message, and let me try to check the index in the Elasticsearch. So I'm going to run this command xget. So now you see I have an index called test index, and if you see the PRI is 2 and the replica as well is 2, right? And again, now we don't have a documents over here because we don't put anything into this. Okay, now let me do another one which I want to put some content as well into the index. Okay, so let me use product, and I will try to put some product into that. So let me put this command. So this command again, I'm going to create another index called product, and inside that mobiles, and a one. Okay, so and here I'm going to enter put some content. So I'm going to use -d, and the name of name parameter I'm using, iPhone, camera. So these are some example. Okay, I'm not sure whether these values are right or not. I'm just putting something over there. So let me just run this. Now you can see we got the result. Index is product, type is mobile, and the ID is 1, and the version is 1, and it's created. So there are total 2 and success 1. So let's see the index again. So I think this is the command. So now if you see, we have a new index called products. And again, if you see, there is PRI1, rep1, but if you see the docs count, there is 1. So because we added some content into it, so there is a doc count for 1. Okay, let me add one more index, one more ID. So I'm going to use the same product mobile type, and the ID 2, but here I'm going to add an iPhone old, and I'm going to give the review as average. Okay, so again, we got that created. So if I go to the index, you can see there are the same index ID, so there is no much change over here, but there are 2 different contents in there. And how we can get some content, let me try to do some query on that. Okay, So in order to do the query, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the curl h content type JSON, and we are going to use the xget as well again, and I'm going to query on the product index. Okay, and we need to use underscore search. So if you see here, and what we used to do is we used to give the index name and then pretty, right? So we get the output on the index name. What we are going to do now is we are going to use underscore search, so that will use the search on the parameter. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the query function, and in the query I'm going to match the phrase, and inside the match phrase we know that in the products we used something called review, right? And the review I have given some one product as good and one product as average. So let me try to find what is the matching with the reviews good. Okay, so we can run this command, and if you run it you may see the output. So you see I run this command for review. So what we got, the output is no, this is the output. So this is the products index, mobile type, ID, and we have the name, camera, and the review as good, right? So whatever is matching, it's coming up. And if I change this this review, let me see how I can go up. Not for, okay, I think it's not here. I need to run the query. So if I change this query to average, which was for the other product, let me run this one again. Now we can see this, I got another output where the name is iPhone all. The previous one was iPhone alone, right? So if you give something else which is not matching, you will not get any output as well. So if I give bad, and let me try to run out the command, because we don't have any content which matches that. So if I run that, you can see the output is null, so we don't have any matching content as well. Okay, so you can use different ways to query as well. So we'll see more about this in the upcoming tutorial. I just wanted to show you how we can query as well. Now let's see, I have downloaded few zip files, so, and I have unzipped it as well. So you see I have something called Shakespeare .json employee. So let's see how we can import all these things as a bulk into the Elasticsearch. So what we are trying to do here is, like, if you see this command, we are using the content type as JSON, and we are going to put the content into the index called Shakespeare, and what we are using is underscore bulk. So it's similar to like underscore search. What we are using is underscore bulk here, and the pretty I'm giving it to give the output in a readable or good format. And we are going to use the data binary, and I am going to call this .json file. So let me try to run this and see what we get. Okay, so I will run this command. So this may take some time because it has to call the JSON file and import into the index. So we'll wait for this to be completed. So you can see it's indexing all those things. Okay, it's completed. So now you can see it has created around 11,000, not 11,000, it's 1,11,395 IDs. So it has created almost that much of IDs. If I read this Shakespeare .json file, let me see what's the contents there. So you can see this contents have type, the index name is Shakespeare, right, and it has an ID name, and it has some contents like line ID, play name, right, and speaker and text. So what I want to do is probably I want to filter some contents with matching some play name or line or something like that. Okay, so let's try to do a query on that. So I'm going to run this query, so where I'm trying to search for a text entry, so shaken as we are. so which is a part of some of the books which Shakespeare's book. So if you see, I got this output. So the index name is Shakespeare doc, type is doc, and it's in the third ID. And if you see, it's there, the play name is called Henry 4, and it's line number 1.1 Shakespeare King Henry 4. Sorry, the speaker King Henry 4, and the text Henry it says like, so shaken we are, so we ran with the care. So this contains that, and it came up. So similar way you can do some query based on some of the parameters you have, so you can get the output from the index. Now we can see this command previously when we spoke about properties, mappings, and all those things. So let's create one index based on this, which is for the company database, and then we can try to import some data over there as well. So let me create one over here. I think there is some kind of errors. Let me see. Yep, so I found out the reason, because if you have seen the previous one, we have defined the docs or employees directly. So starting with the Elasticsearch 7, you cannot do the root mapping, so you need to remove this part, so you can only define the properties things. So that's why the reason we were facing the problem. So if you see this command, I have removed that, and we are directly from the properties, and we have the index created. Now let's check again how many index we have it. Now if you see, we have multiple index, and we have this company database index we just now created, and let's try to import some data into it as well from that JSON file. So I'm going to run this command. I'm going to put export and the company database, and I'm going to do a bulk import, and I'm going to use this file which is available in this location. Okay, we have not defined the content type. I think that's why the reason. Let's try that. So let me clear out the screen first. Okay, and let me run this command. Now you can see I'm using the content type as application JSON. So we are trying to import a JSON file over here. So let's just wait to see the update. Now if you see this output, this is completely looks like a mess, right? The reason is because I have not given the pretty over here. Otherwise, this output should have been looked much better. So that's why usually we give that pretty on that command line. So I have not given in the previous command. So if you see, the previous command was like this. So if you see, after the bulk, I have not given the pretty. That's why the output was completely filled in the screen. So I would suggest always you give that pretty, so the output looks good. Now this is the indexes now, and if you see, we have the company database, and let me try to read some content out of something. Okay, so for that I will use curl get. And let's see what we have it in this Shakespeare. And that should be pretty. Okay, so now you can see the content out of the whole Shakespeare index, right? So you'll be able to get it in that way. Add some details about how many shards, what is the provider name, how many replica you have. Okay, so this also you'll get some details about that index over here. So I think we did pretty good on showing how to create an index, how to delete an index, how to put some data into the index. You use a bulk import of some JSON file, how to do the settings and also the mapping for index, what kind of data types you can set, content type, right? So all those things we have covered it. So I'm hoping this tutorial is informative for you. And I would request you to click on the subscribe button, like this video, share and comment.